finish up and turn it in, and close your computer when you're done turning it in and highlighting. Oh, okay. Okay, since we're running a little short on time because of the shortened schedule, we're going to have to get to the discussion. So finish up what you can. And then we're going to start with a discussion just within your small group before we move to the large group discussion. So turn to your neighbors and discuss maybe some questions you have. You can refer back to that exercise question if you want to start there. But just kind of talk about the text before we move into the large group.
Because it can be less work. It's like it can be less work than actually working. Yeah, they were saying that I was like, no. Because the heroes or whatever, they come the first day, and they could force them to come to school every day, but like, it's less work, they just put on the first day.
It's like one of those things where you don't know how to read.
There's no point to it.
Because like when I read it, well, in certain cases, it talked about how like the town knew, they just kind of ignored like they knew that they wanted to
And you all were a disgrace.
They just kind of started talking, and then other people. What did you think of the whole story about Bradley?
Fake.
Yeah.
News.
I think she's going to become
my car is working. It's done this before. Like, I was gonna tell I'm pretty sure I could go to the tech team.
I just didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Yeah, you can do it.
You just want me to like share it?
Yeah, just share it. That would be good. Thank you.
What?
Yeah, with her. Yeah.
Joe, I don't like that. I don't like the picture.
He's
No, he took no, it talked about how he took like the role.
Do you think that you?
What do they call it?
They give a high five?
Probably bicon. Where they don't do anything.
It's not trash.
Where's it talk about? That's chapter 2.
It's like in order to pass, you have to forget what you need to learn in order to learn. And you have to learn something you learned.
No, but she's like, she seems scared.
What is this?
She thinks she knows.
In order to pass first grade, you have to become dumb.
What was she doing wrong? Just the fact that she already knew?
She knows everything. She still thinks she knows everything.
Yeah, but she thinks that
Where are these people white? Where are these people white?
I didn't know.
White to me.
I thought she was white.
No.
Wait, she's a girl.
What do they call it?
Why would they? They said that they don't have any relatives because they just pinched you and enslaved you.
No, they are the relatives.
Their relatives, their ancestors were their slaves.
Dang, I missed something.
Wait.
Oh god.
Wait, are we talking about the like scout thing?
Yeah.
You didn't?
No.
How did you not? Did you read the book?
I did. But
I didn't really read the I didn't really understand the first part. Like I read that throughout the class.
Yeah.
So of course I was distracted.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense now. The whole book. That makes sense. That makes a
I
lot
think
of
it
sense
was
now.
kind of like hard to get
Because I didn't read the first part. Like I didn't like the first part. I wasn't really comprehending what goes into it.
I reread the first
I didn't read it.
I had to go through and reread the first part too, but I still didn't get that.
How did you not? These two didn't know that.
I just didn't pick it up.
No, because here's the thing. I didn't. We were in here, so when I'm in here, I'm obviously distracted because.
Oh, you read it in here?
Yeah, the first part. So I didn't
I just missed it.
Like I read the early part great.
Makes sense now.
All right. Hey guys, we're gonna move into
or something.
the whole class discussion. I heard a lot of good stuff brought up in the small group discussions, but just make sure that when we're doing a whole class discussion that you're respecting other people and that you're listening to what they're saying, and if you disagree with them, that's fine, but just make sure you're being respectful about your criticism, make sure it's constructive. So if you guys want to turn to a comfortable position, if you want to set it up like a circle or kind of
Circle. We're going back.
make sure you're facing each other.
Just doing a circle.
What?
We're gonna do real life.
Why'd you say my name?
You said we should do bullseye. Everyone's on the outside. You're just in the middle.
No, Weston, make one.
Okay, just like
I've already
yeah.
What?
No, we do it so that we
You don't
see
know
everyone.
I kind of assumed it.
No, Weston and I so
Use your chair. Like you should know that from there. I mean, you did. Like, it took a lot of action to do that.
Okay, so I heard a lot of people talking about the education system, which I thought was interesting. So what did this group back here, what were you guys talking about the education system? I liked what you had to say.
We said that Miss Caroline, she told Scout not to read anymore, and you could just kind of get the vibe that she thought she was superior to like all the students,
Yeah.
even though Scout was pretty smart for her age.
Oh, that's a good point. Any other thoughts on the education system? Yeah.
It kind of made me mad when Miss Caroline told her to stop reading, because at first grade, I learned to read when I was in like kindergarten or maybe preschool. So like by first grade, I feel like everyone should be able to read a little bit. So it just kind of made no sense to me that she just told her to stop reading.
Or at least you shouldn't be punished for being ahead of your peers.
it's almost like in order to pass first grade, you gotta forget all this stuff, and then you get to relearn it in the next grade. So you gotta get dumber and then smarter. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Why do you think that she structured her class like that?
Probably because like at that time it was a time of like segregation and there weren't really equal rights, so having her be able to learn like at the same level of someone with a different color than her would have like been really frowned upon in that generation by people of opposite color.
I also feel like at that time women were still sort of getting their rights, so if it had been one of the male students, I don't think it would have been as big of a problem.
That's a good point. Think about how the other male students were treated when they talked back to her. Do you guys remember what happened with the Cunninghams?
Get in trouble for trying to explain something.
Have the right name even. Do you guys remember?
Yeah.
She got
Yeah.
yelled at or something because she was trying to explain that they wouldn't take the money.
Yeah.
They couldn't pay it back.
And did she approach him the way that she approached Scout? No, not at all. So then moving on from that, what background information do you guys think that you had for the presentations? How do you think that helped you in these first 3 chapters? Or do you think it did help you? To be honest.
Well, theirs was talking about the education system and how it changed a lot, and it kind of set the foundation for what's now, and you can kind of see what's just so different
Well, it
from
talked
them
about
there.
how Miss Caroline was introducing new things she learned about education, and that like her class was going to be doing it, so it was going to be different from anything they've done before.
Anything else as far as the background information, or nope? No? Yeah, I mean, we're just starting the book, so that's okay. But this group over here talked about Cal, and what did you guys say about her?
She was more of like a mother figure for the Finch family because their mom died when they were so little, but she was also their like maid, but she didn't seem like in the book she doesn't seem like that's her role. Her role is more like the mother.
Yeah.
Rather than like other roles that she's supposed to play.
And everyone like they live in Alabama, I'm pretty sure. So like it's still kind of like offset with between blacks and whites. So everyone in that whole family just appreciated her, and even the father, which I don't know, it kind of surprised me, but it also didn't because she's been there their whole life, basically.
What else about character development? What did you guys notice in the first 3 chapters?
How everyone kind of looks up to the Ewells, and they're like kind of the elite people there, and like how everyone else is supposed to kind of like not question what they do and just kind of watch. I thought that was kind of like showing how their community was kind of set up, and it kind of shows like how maybe it's the different levels of wealth within it.
Didn't it say like the Ewells were like a disgrace to the...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but no one ever really questioned what they did, is what I'm saying. Like how he was able to hunt whenever he wants.
We all politely disagree.
because they don't bother to like make those people go to school if they're just going to be a distraction and not learn anything even when they're there. So they just don't bother to like enforce the law, I guess.
I don't bother you. You don't bother me.
It's just like too much work. Like it's more work by doing that than like.
And the school's probably better off without them anyway. So it's like
Also, like the reason that they let them break the law with hunting is because like they're still kind of in the wrong. Because if they like enforce the law, then basically their children wouldn't have as much to eat. So like it's really bad. But in order to like get their children to eat, they have to do something wrong, letting him do something wrong in order to do that. Like there's not really any other way to get food to their family.
Yeah, so that's a nice segue into the exercise question. What do you guys think about that? How did you answer that question?
Yeah, that's it.
It's kind of what you said?
Yeah. And I talked about how in the education, like, they'd be a distraction because they don't want to learn at all. So they're going to try everything they can not to.
Are there other examples of that in the story aside from just in the education system?
In the way that they didn't allow Jean Louise to read. Because according to Miss Caroline, that was breaking the rules. But then at the same time, she should have been allowed to read because by bending that little rule, that was actually going to benefit her more in life. But at that time, Miss Caroline just didn't want her to bend what she thought was the right rules.
That's a good point.
Also the hunting hands, which you already talked about, but instead of just paying with money, they pay you back over time and with just services rendered, kind of. But they were still really respected, and this is kind of in double standards, but it seemed like because they were landowners that they had more respect than someone who just had a job.
Yeah. So then what do you think the implications of that are? Like if people are bending the law, and we see many examples of that, to Mercy's point and to the discussion of the education system, what do you, positive and negative implications of that?
One negative implication of that is how they kind of talked about that even though the North won the Civil War and there were like supposed to be no slavery, the part where they lived in Alabama kind of was still like segregated from the rest and wasn't really that free. I forgot the word for it, but like the other side of the Union, they were still kind of like agreed with that and still have their kind of policies.
Yeah, very good.
Another would be if you start bending small laws and say that's okay, I think it can kind of snowball and you don't really have a line where it becomes not okay to bend a certain law and okay to bend others.
That's a good point.
I think you could kind of to tell though that they don't get many like outsiders in their town because Miss Caroline is new, and they were giving her a lot of grief for all that stuff that she didn't know on the first day. And then Scout talked to Atticus, and she kind of understood that it was kind of her first day. She can't learn all the things that everybody in the town knows in just one day.
Yeah,
Mackenzie, how like she was really so confused that she didn't know anything that was happening. She just kind of went with the flow. She kind of tried to do things her way, and then everybody kind of informed her some of those things that she was doing might have been wrong because of how other people felt and what was actually going on in the town.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the dare. What was the dare? And what do you think that was about? What? Yeah. And what was that about? What do we know about the Radley family? Do you have any ideas about that? Like, what do you, predictions, speculations? Or you don't feel like you know enough yet?
Considering that, like, they said that when they were walking back, it looked like that they had seen them do it. He'll probably, like, whoever was in the house at that time will probably remember it. So that could be something that comes up later.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like they might like over-exaggerate the story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
You know, like most of those stories. The story's been passed down from different people, so it keeps getting added on to.
Mm-hmm. It's probably not as big as people think it is. There's probably not as much happening.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're gonna be really different. Like we'll see them later in the book, and they'll be way different than how they're described as in the beginning.
Yeah, like the Beast in the Sandlot.
Or like the old guy in Home Alone.
The old man died. Hal did say that he was a bad person or something like that, and she didn't usually talk about people, I think it said. So there must be something going on.
Yeah.
That might just be awful people.
And then there's also the stuff that Miss Stephanie, their neighbor, talked about. But it said that she was like the gossip, so you can't really trust what she says. And I feel like the kids are kind of believing that because when you're younger, you believe more of what people tell you rather than what the actual truth is. So I'm not sure that it's actually as bad as they think, like everyone else said.
That's a good point. And as far as segregation, and we talked about how, well, you guys just touched on how people pass things down that aren't necessarily true. How do you guys think those relate? Like the fact that this town is so segregated and there's a lot of discrimination. How do you think that relates to the point you guys just made?
The people who live there probably don't understand, like, that's not how the entire United States is, like, the way they live, and they probably think that that's how everyone else lives in the United States, so they don't really know if there's something better.
Especially the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't know anything other than where they live.
And like as it gets passed down, people don't really know like why they're still living the way they are. They kind of just like it's just how it is.
Yeah.
There's no real reason behind it.
Yeah.
And when it becomes harder to change because the more figures you look up to that have that opinion, the harder it is to think about what's actually going on and try to change it.
Plus, it's kind of like a habit. The longer you have a habit, the harder it gets to get away.
Yeah, it becomes comfortable for people. So, do you guys have any other questions or anything that you were talking about in your groups that you want to bring up?
Yeah.
Do you have something? No? Do you have any questions about the text so far? Great. Well, you guys can you can go back to your seats and you can use the remaining 10-15 minutes to start on your next chapter, which is going to be 4 through 8, okay? 4 through 8, yep. And we're going to do...
Reading.
Reading, yeah. That's a good question.
Is that
7.